Inclusive teaching, supporting all students in the college classroom. Additional strategies.
Collaborative learning environments are very common in today's university. And there are some special things a faculty member can do to make those environments more inclusive of all of their students. And this includes students with disabilities, but other students as well. And so, for example, in a small group discussion, sometimes faculty will just say, we're going to break into small groups and chit-chat about whatever we're talking about, and then report out. And that might be fine as far as instructions for the average student. But again, thinking of diversity, some students aren't going to do very well with those instructions. And what happens in these small groups sometimes is only a few people participate and others don't. And then that's the end of it. And so you've provided a learning opportunity for some students, but not all of them. So I would suggest to a faculty member that they give some specific guidelines about what they expect in that small group discussion, that everyone participates, just specifically what needs to happen in that environment, and even some courtesy issues as far as working with each other. Then they should monitor. They should walk around the classroom and see if people are participating and interject a bit here and there to get someone to participate that isn't participating. And then you should hold the group accountable. And so if they're writing a report about their experience and what they learned, in that report, you could have them explain how everybody contributed to the solution. And that will force them then to have a role for everyone. One nice thing about universal design is you can apply it incrementally. So you can think of a new strategy that you can offer each quarter or whatever. You don't have to do it all at once. I'll tell you about the resources that we have in my program and then share some of the others that are out there on the internet. Like everything else, there's tons of stuff out there on the internet. In our program, the Do It Center, we've developed a book, Universal Design in Higher Education, From Principles to Practice. And I'm the editor of that book, but my claim to fame is really getting 40 leaders in the field on universal design to talk about their experiences and specific aspects of universal design in the chapters in the book. So in the book, you'll find some of the authors talking about how you can universally design an online course or an on-site course or other aspects of instruction, like a computer lab or science lab, or how you can design a video to be inclusive of students with disabilities, multiple ways to engage, research that has been done about universal design in higher education or K-12 education, all of those things. And so starting with a book that provides an overview can be how many people want to learn about universal design. But we also have a center on universal design in education. And besides the resources we have there, we try to link to all of these other great resources that are out there. And so it's not just our take on it. But in that universal design section of our website, there's, for instance, a literature review. And we keep, as new literature comes up, we keep putting it and adding it to that list, and we have things organized. We even have a section on how to include universal design as a content aspect of a course you're teaching. For example, if you're teaching a web design course, including accessible web design, and even more inclusive web design, which would include universal design, is included in there. So that's one resource, the book, and then the second resource being the website. And one thing that has come up over the years, we had a collaborative project with over 20 other institutions around the country where we developed this Center on Universal Design in Education. And the project involved giving a lot of training on various campuses. And I'm a great believer in universal design. It's kind of a way of thinking. It's just an attitude. It's look at all you're doing and do multiple ways of presenting and so forth. But we got a lot of demand for a checklist. But I have come to the conclusion that a list of strategies can really benefit some people who are learning about universal design. And so we have a checklist on universal design of instruction, for instance, with examples. How can you make your class more inclusive, the climate of your class, by learning student names, by including disability-related questions on your evaluations so you can improve your class to be more universally designed in the future. How you can come up with different ways to present information to students, and so people with different learning strengths and challenges can benefit from your course, and scaffolding devices that you could use in a class. What I've come to believe is that the checklist idea is really useful for people getting started. You're never going to have exhaust universal design strategies that way, but they also will find in the checklist some really low-hanging fruit that's just really easy for them to do, like now. There are a lot of videos on the website as well. And one of the things I really like about our Do It videos is they usually feature students with disabilities, faculty with disabilities, talking about their experiences. And so you'll hear from the point of view of a student with a disability what maybe you should be doing in your class, and that's quite powerful. But also our videos are captioned and audio description is available, and also transcripts, and usually a handout that goes along with the video. And they're short, so they can be used in presentations, but also for learning. Another really good resource as far as videos is YouTube. There are a lot of good videos you can search around for. And there you also will find perspectives of people with disabilities, but also some videos on universal design specifically. One frustration I have with some of those videos is they're not very accessible. People often don't realize that those captions that appear on YouTube videos can be edited. And so a computer is actually drafting the captions, but people don't look at them as a draft. If they did, they'd go in there and edit them. They're very easy to edit, and so that they are good quality captions on those videos. I think it's important for faculty members to know that they will never be able to anticipate all of the various needs of students in their class, particularly students with disabilities. They do not need to be expert on disability. But it's important to be aware of what some of the things are that these students might need as far as accommodations. First of all, if you can gain some knowledge about what are the typical accommodations for students who are blind, for students with learning disabilities, and so on, that can be useful, not essential, but useful. Secondly, you will get a letter from the Disability Services Office for students who have declared their disability and have reasonable accommodations. And you can learn from that experience. Sometimes accommodations can actually be an inspiration for a universal design practice. If you have a student that needs alternative documents, for example, it might make you think about, maybe I should make my documents more accessible in case I have other students who need them. So that's where you can kind of gain some knowledge about what you should do. If you have a statement in your syllabus that invites students to talk to you about any special needs they might have or anything they want to talk about as far as their learning style and so forth, then when you're talking to that particular student, I would say just listen to them. Ask them how they feel they can best participate in the class. And if there are any adjustments that can be made that would be useful to them. Sometimes you'll learn from that. So it's important to be aware and anticipate that students will have a variety of needs. But universal design then can incorporate some of the practices that make the course more accessible by offering, for instance, learning experiences in different ways, using videos, using printed materials, web resources, and so forth. I think a lot of good teachers teach to a broad audience already, but when disability comes up, they sometimes get nervous about that because they think it's oh so special or oh so different when it really is just one more diversity issue in your class. But do feel comfortable talking to the student with a disability. Often students with disabilities will tell me that faculty members seem reluctant to talk to them, even though their disability has been disclosed. And just simply asking them, is there anything I can do for you? Any of the things that might benefit you in this particular class? Then do that. And it's probably good to say that to all the students in the class as well.
That's true. Nobody can anticipate the accommodation needs of all students. That's a fact. That's how it is. And I think, the goal is not for you as a faculty member to know everything. The goal is for you to be receptive to what students are telling you that they need. And I think one of the things that I hear a lot is sort of a fear that students are going to ask for things that are unreasonable or impossible and the truth is that most students, what they want is to feel like they're being heard and that the things that they need are taken seriously. So I'm going to give an example. I've talked about this in terms of threat, where people are feeling threatened. And that threat sometimes comes from, this is how I do things in my class. I'm really good at teaching this way. And I don't want to have to rethink that. I'm afraid if I try this new thing, it's not going to work. And it's going to take a lot of time, and I've got this careful balance of how things are going to work for me in the classroom. I hear that from faculty, right? And so there's sometimes a fear of like, well, this student can't do this assignment, or this student wants a different kind of assignment, or the student wants me to deliver information in a way that I don't typically. And it can feel scary. It can feel like, well, what if I try it and it doesn't go very well? And it has consequences for how other students learn, or how I teach, or how much time it takes. And I just kind of feel like this is all teaching is really about building relationships and about figuring out how the classroom environment enabled you to build those relationships. So don't think of your goal as knowing what every student needs and hearing the name of a diagnosis or the name of a particular disability and being ready to go, like this is what you need, because everyone is so different. All of the students in the classroom are going to need different things, and they can accommodate to you in the same way that you can try to accommodate in ways that they request.